don't knock over the camera. Hey y'all, it's me, Sherilyn, and it's a nice breezy Sunday morning in the middle of October here in South Florida, and it is actually time for our first garden tour of the season. And I'm so excited, and I'm so glad you're here. So let's go take a look at what started growing. I haven't planted out everything, because we're really hot, and then it starts to cool off in small increments. So certain things are planted, certain things are not. Most of the weeds are gone, and I'm just excited to share it with you. Come on. Okay, and the sunlight is a little funky here, but look, here's my bush beans that I planted back in September, and they are starting to flower. We've got some caterpillar issues going on here. I want to show you a few things about these beans. And I have a guest host today on the garden tour show who is all around my feet and bumping into the camera, so I'm sorry. These are bush beans, Blue Lake bush beans, and I have been saving these seeds for a couple years now, and look what's happened. This is not a bush bean. If you'll hear my neighbors, they're working on something in the backyard if you hear background noise. We've also got some caterpillar issues going on here. I'm going to pull this leaf for you. I've been seeing those yellow moths around. You know, them things that we always thought were butterflies until we realized differently. Do you see this leaf? This is happening on my green beans. And let's see if we can find a caterpillar. That one's empty. That one's empty. There's not a caterpillar in there. But what I do when I see this is I just come up on the leaf and give it a smush. And bye-bye caterpillar. And here they are. They're looking lovely. And this is looking especially lovely here. Some of these beans, like I said, they're supposed to be bush beans. But they have become climbing beans, pole beans. And they are climbing on this headboard frame. And look at the zinnias. The zinnias here are just stunning. Absolutely love it. This little area is, don't mind the mess in the nursery. But look at this. There's just color here, there's green here, there's life here, and it's making me so happy. And there's my Blue Lake pole beans climbing on that nylon trellis that I showed you guys. And here is some lemongrass. Look at all that mess in the back. Guys, these buckets and this string I put here when Hurricane Ian was blowing through South Florida. And I've got to get it down. But I'm going to really make sure that there are no more storms out there before I do. But here, a sweet friend, Miss Rosie, gave me some lemongrass, and I harvested the tops and planted these out, and they're starting to grow back. And there's just a work in progress. We won't look at that. So we're going to head down this main garden entrance, which needs more mulch and is not perfect. This stuff isn't perfect. That's okay. I've for ages I have said, oh, I apologize in advance for the weeds. I apologize for the mess. I think I'm going to quit doing that. I mean, this is just real life, right? This is the garden in progress. So let's go. And if we veer here to the left, I'm so excited about this. These are Ford Hook lima beans. And you know, people will say, oh, I don't like lima beans. And I wasn't the biggest fan. They were good in, some food combinations. But then I wanted to grow some lima beans, and I got these Ford Hook lima beans. And I planted like 12 seeds. I planted out like 12 seeds in a small bed that I had, and seriously got 2 plants. That was also from a company that I did not have very good luck with their seeds, and I never got lettuce, even though I planted trays and trays of lettuce and the other things I bought from them. Extremely poor germination, but I got 2 plants, and from those plants I saved seeds, and that's where I'm going this year. And then from this I'll save a lot of seeds, so next year I can have rows of these 4 lima beans, because they are delicious, absolutely delicious. I only had 1 little serving from them last year because I wanted to see what they tasted like before I saved the seeds, and I was in love, so we're saving seeds. Do you remember those green square tomato cages that I got from Tractor Supply to grow beefsteak tomatoes on last year, and they were just pitiful tomato cages? I've linked them together and made this little trellis. Now over here we've had a tomato fiasco, as you know. I had the toxic potting soil issue, and only a few plants survived. Here's one lone Paul Robeson tomato plant, and it is looking really good. And I've come in here and replanted those areas where the others died with some cherry tomato bushes. And this is the walking path I haven't weeded yet. Isn't that awful? But I'm not apologizing. And if we come down this way, right in here is where those sweet potatoes were growing that I showed you guys last year. And we've had sweet potato slips popping up so much. For any tiny piece of root from sweet potatoes will pop up. So I am not going to grow sweet potatoes in my main garden area anymore. They are very invasive. But the rabbits love those sweet potato slips. So as they pop up here, I try to dig up any tubers. But I'm also, I'm going to feed them to the bunnies. Here's another little piece of fence that I will plant more tomatoes on. I've restarted some tomatoes in better soil, and I have time, so I'll restart some tomatoes on there. Speaking of tomatoes, let's go check out our experiment. Look at these. Do you guys remember back in March 2022, I said I was going to try to grow some spring tomatoes, and I planted out some, just some I got at Walmart, the Bonnie beefsteak tomatoes. And they grew, and they did okay. It did get too hot pretty quick, and they sort of succumbed. But before I took them out, I took I'm about to fall over. Before I took them out, I took suckers off of them, and I started them in water, and I rooted them out, and then I potted them into a small pot. When they got bigger, I put them into a big pot, and I kept them in the plant nursery under 40% shade cloth and out from the direct rain all summer long. Well, I planted these out a few weeks ago. They were about 2 foot tall and very lanky and spindly, and I had no idea what they were going to do once they got in the garden. But look at this. It's already time to prune them back, and they're setting flowers. I started with 4 and accidentally broke one. But look at this. Big, strong stems. Look at this. There's a cluster of 4 tomatoes, flowers right there. Isn't this lovely? I've got to come out and prune this. So I did this as an experiment to see what if we couldn't get seeds. What if, I'm probably always going to be able to have seeds because we're going to save seeds. But I just wanted to do an experiment. And I think that's part of the fun of gardening, is just to be experimental, have fun. see what you can do. And I wanted to see if I could keep tomatoes growing. And because I did this, I had big established tomato plants early in the season. And I'm going to have tomatoes a couple of months sooner. That's wonderful. Here is that zinnia and green bean bed from the back side. Isn't this gorgeous? Little marigolds there. And I've actually planted over 6 zucchini mounds and only got 1 plant. Not good. I don't know what's up. Are you guys having problems with seeds that you're buying? I'm having this issue with various seed companies. Over here, that trellis, hopefully those yellow flowers will grow and cover that trellis. The guy at the nursery said they would. And this is the entrance. Remember, I put these raised beds, I brought them from the back and put them in the front because I wanted to create a definitive edge, and I wanted something of an entryway into my garden instead of just rows in the dirt and, you know, places where the yard could encroach and take over. And it's starting to come alive, and I am loving it. We're going to meander on this way and back through the food forest area and back up that way. My sweet little chicken. Isn't he cute? There's more of those pole bean, bush beans. I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to be real careful saving bush seeds this year. And check the plants to see which one remained a bush type and separate those seed pods. As we come in through here, this is my idea for this big space. I've just been living with it to see what I think. I think I'm going to come around and just plant like a 4-foot border on either side of this. And I'm not sure yet what I'm going to plant here. I am going to come back when my calendula plants are ready to go in the garden. I'm going to put that beautiful yellow calendula along this stone border. It'll have lovely flowers along the walkway. And eventually I'll get some more mulch. As we come in here, again looking at the beautiful pole beans that are flowering. I planted more pole beans on this side of the trellis, and a few of them are making their way up. Coming through this trellis, there's still a mess in the greenhouse, guys. Don't fuss at me. Don't judge. The sweet little church birdhouse that we rescued off the road years and years ago, off the side of the road, in a trash pile. And it just looks so cute in the garden. Here are my banana trees, looking a little worse for wear. You can see where Hurricane Ian winds really shredded the leaves. There is a cranberry hibiscus in there, some sort of a volunteer bean. We're still pretty windy here in South Florida some days, so my banana leaves never look perfect. But you can tell this is normal wind. That's the winds off the hurricane. Back here, I have planted cucumbers, and there's a cat. I was going down the road the other day, and I saw these 2 hammock chairs laying out by the side of the road. And the first thing out of my mouth was, look at those plant trellises. And Lucas says, I don't think those are plant trellises, Mama. I said, I know, but to me they are, so that's what they are. They kind of look like a soccer goal, or football for those of you in other countries, like a football net. Back here is my Barbados cherry. I'm trying to get to where I'm not casting shadow. This is a Barbados cherry bush. It seems to be doing very well. Over here in the background there's some pigeon peas, and here I've planted Armenian yard-long cucumbers, and it looks like I got some too close together. Here, along with my shadow, is my moringa tree starting to make a comeback after it got bent over and broken by the hurricane. It's starting to make a comeback. Along the back side of these tomato plants on this old metal cage I'm using as a trellis. And here I've just got back here yesterday and pulled out all the weeds, and I've prepped the ground and put in some rabbit manure, and I'm still not certain what I'm going to plant back here, because let me tell you what was going on. We had some volunteer sweet potato slips in this back corner, and I pulled them out yesterday because they had powdery mildew. So I'm kind of nervous to plant something back here, like a vining squash or something. I had thought about doing cantaloupe, but those vining squashes and melons are susceptible to powdery mildew, and if those spores are back here, I'm not sure that's where I want to plant them. But I'm very disappointed because I had really wanted to plant some cantaloupe in here. And on top of this trellis you will see the remnants of the loofah vine. I did go in between these here and used my snippers and just gathered the vines and snipped them. It is a pain in the tuchus trying to grab a hold of these vines and just rip them down, you know, like that. If you can gather them up in the middle of these holes and snip them with your snippers, they come down easier. I just didn't have, I didn't want to get that stuff in my hair that day, and I didn't have like a footstool out here to stand on to get up there. But I will. This little area meanders back around the back of the fence, and I'm in a spider web. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I am in a spider web. Whew. Good thing I'm not squeamish. And along the back fence back here, I've got some okra plants planted, and there's some more perennial things, some banana trees. Eventually this will be the food forest, and we'll just use the floor of the food forest to tuck in some different things here and there. I'm experimenting. Here I have some Blue Lake pole beans growing on this trellis. Here along the arbor, I have put one of those little shipping container boxes that my son gave me, and filled it up with some good soil from back here in the food forest area, and I've started some climbing cherry tomatoes in there. Not sure what I'm going to plant in the front. Here is a view of the garden from back here. Between these beds, I'm reestablishing walkways back here, putting down the cardboard and mulch, and here in between these two trellises, I've established this bed where I can grow some lower things. Not sure what I'm going to grow there yet, but I do need to get some sort of a mulch to cover it up, or at least another piece of cardboard or something to keep the sun from scorching it. Let's go out this way. Here is a volunteer tomato, and this is a cherry tomato, and this thing has volunteered in this area for a couple of years now, and I just love it. It will grow up all the way up to the top of this arbor if I let it, and I think I'm going to let it. I've tied some string here. I'm not sure what you guys can see. The sun's in my eyes. I've tied some string here to the top, and as we come down the center pathway behind the fence where I said I was going to grow additional tomatoes, there's a little path And right in here I have started the potato patch. So this is all going to be potatoes. I need to bring these up and put some landscape fabric down because the cardboard's not cutting it. I have more pea gravel to put here with this flagstone. The flagstone definitely needs to be washed. We're in a subtropical and tropical climate, and this stuff has really gotten a little green. Here's another trellis of the blue lake pole beans. I created a small walking path here. And back here is the vegetable amaranth that I had growing here a long time ago, and it always volunteers. And it's volunteered. This is too many plants. I'm going to thin this out and feed it to the rabbits. I only need 1 or 2 of these plants growing, and they're kind of in a cluster here, so we'll see if I just taper that down to 1. But there's a lot of them growing there. It's a good edible leafy green. It's really good it tastes better in the cooler weather. Let's go check out this okra. This okra, I can't see the camera, the sun's in my eyes. This okra is burgundy okra or jambalaya. I don't remember which one. And I'll have to check that out. Either way, I've already harvested, it's on to my hip, and I have already harvested a few okra off of these larger plants, and there's several more on there. Let's take a look at that. I'll set you guys down in the oregano. You can see that lovely, lovely okra flower. Okra is in the hibiscus family, and you can really tell by that beautiful flower. They are gorgeous. Speaking of the oregano, here's a massive oregano plant, and it did not like the summer. It is cooling off, and I'm hoping that it's coming back really pretty. Here are more blue lake pole beans. And back here is banana tree and some beautiful vinca flowers. And this is a mess. Look, the storm did blow down my fence back there. I really want to thank you guys for hanging out with me in the garden today. And until next time, be blessed. See ya. Bye, y'all.